Hey fatty! In this video I'm going to talk about sodium and potassium intake because I've been getting a lot of questions about it with respect to my snake diet and my snake juice as people are calling it. But before participating in any snake diet activities, please consult your local drug dealer to make sure that it's okay. And by drug dealer, I mean your local doctor. Let's begin. So, we have sodium, and I recommend pink salt, pink Himalayan salt. That is because it has crazy amounts of minerals. It's better than most sea salts, okay? There's some pretty high-grade sea salt, but this stuff's better than most of that stuff. So, Himalayan pink salt is going to be your main source of sodium. So, 1 gram of this Himalayan pink salt has 420 milligrams of sodium. 1 teaspoon equals 6 grams, which is therefore 2,520 milligrams of sodium. Now, sodium intake is going to be different for everybody. Some people will need like basically nothing because they sit around all day and they're doing very little. Some people, like a high-level athlete or somebody that's sweating their bag off all day, is going to need a lot more. It can vary right from very little up to 8,000 milligrams a day. Or even more, who knows? So you got to feel that out. But, now I recommend, remember, talk to your doctor. For a lot of people, if you're not too hardcore in activity, you go with maybe a half of a teaspoon, which would be right around that 1,250 milligram mark. Or maybe 1 teaspoon, which is 2,500 milligrams. You know, I usually take about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons because I'm fairly active. I sweat a lot. Okay? But potassium and sodium go hand in hand because the way your cell works, there's a potassium-sodium pump. And if you lose all the potassium on the outside of this, if you lose all the sodium on the outside of the cell, then the potassium will leave the cell and then you'll end up with cramping and all sorts of issues, weakness. Usually if you're feeling like shit and weak, it's because you don't have enough fucking salt and potassium. Or you've lost all your salt and you're starting to lose all your potassium and you urinate all your potassium out once your salt's gone. So when I say salt, I mean sodium. Okay. So, what I'm saying is sodium's going to be variable. You'll have to play with it. Now, as far as the fucking snake juice drink goes, you don't have to put the pink salt in the drink. As long as you get a fair amount when you eat your meal. So let's say if you're even eating once every 48 hours. Just put maybe half of a teaspoon of pink salt within your meal. You know, you can have it on cucumbers, have it on some eggs, whatever. So you can get the pink salt in your meal. It doesn't have to be stretched throughout. But the reason you want it in your meal, because if you were going to not put it in your meal and you're going to drink it throughout the whole of the day, you need to drink it throughout the whole of the day. You can't just fucking take a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon or whatever of pink salt and knock it back in like 2 shots of water because you'll be shitting your fucking brains out for fucking 2 hours straight. And then you run into real problems because then you're shitting out all your electrolytes. So that's the salt. That's the sodium. Okay, remember that. You can put it in your food and then you don't need to put it in your water the whole next day or the next 2 days. Now the potassium. So I get that via no salt. There's a couple other things you can buy out there, but no salt's one. Another one's called salt free. And there's another one called Now, if I'm not mistaken, and it's the same stuff as well, basically. Now, 1 teaspoon of this no salt is 2,560 milligrams of potassium. Okay? The recommended, they say, with the mainstream. Now, I've done a lot of experimentation and I feel this 4,700 milligrams a day is a little high. But that's what the mainstream recommends. So that would be about 2 teaspoons per day. So most of you, if you went with about 1.5 teaspoons per day for about 3,800 milligrams, would be just about right. Okay? And you can tell. Because if you start feeling weak, headaches, a lot of it is, especially if you're fat adapted and you've been fasting for a while, if something changes, usually it's guaranteed you're going to be low on this stuff. Almost guaranteed. Okay? Now this stuff, you can mix up in your water throughout the day. with lemon juice, it takes the taste out of it a little bit. It doesn't make it so bad. But either way, you got to get this in throughout the whole of the day. And your water intake does not have to be fucking a set amount of water. You drink water when you need fucking water. And I'm going to get into dry fasting a little more because now I'm getting to the point where I don't drink water anymore. And if I was drinking water, I'd pack my water right into the end of the day. So I'd be drinking all my water at the end of the day. Because what happens when you drink water all fucking day, your body just lets go of it and you piss out electrolytes and you're trying to put them in. Okay, so the whole water thing is completely, like I'm completely changing all that. But for now, if you're drinking water throughout the day, if you went with about 1.5 teaspoons as a starting point, okay, of the no salt. I hope that makes sense. But just remember, you don't have to have a set amount of water. Don't be like, oh, I gotta drink 3 liters of water, or I gotta drink 2 liters. You might only need about a liter or a liter and a half, and then you gotta make sure you get this no salt in with a liter and a liter or a liter and a half. So, and you can also put this on your food as well. Same as the pink salt. You can put this on your food as well. Okay? To get your potassium in. Because here's the thing. You have to get this stuff in. Because if you're trying to cut weight quickly, you obviously aren't eating enough potassium to make it up. So you got to get it somehow or you'll fucking die. So that's why you have to get this in if you're eating very, very small meals every 48 hours like a lot of people are. Okay, so that's why. So if anybody has any questions, you know you can message me. But that's the gist of that. So hopefully that's not confusing. So basically run through again. So the sodium, take with your food. It makes it easy. Then you don't have to drink salt water. But if you don't mind drinking salt water, fine. Take it with your food. A good starting point is going to be like half a teaspoon for a lot of people. Maybe 1 teaspoon on your food and your meal. Okay? Even if you're eating once every 2 days, 1 teaspoon on your food on every meal you have once every 48 hours would be enough. Just a starting point. Okay? Everyone's fucking different. If you're sweating your ball, and usually, obviously, most of you are trying to lose weight because you weren't active in the first place, so obviously you're not sweating very much because you weren't doing fuck all, that's how you got fat. So obviously you're going to be eating 1 meal like every 48 hours, and therefore you probably only need about half a teaspoon because you know you're not sweating much anyway. And then the potassium, you want to take that in your water or else you want to dab it with your finger or lick it or whatever, but take it throughout the day in your water. And a good starting point would be about 1.5 teaspoons a day. Maybe, 1.5 teaspoons and at most 2 teaspoons at most. Because that gives you 4,700, which is the recommended, which I think is high. It actually gives you about 5,000, right, if you went with 2 teaspoons. So that's all I have to say about that. Forrest Gump. So everyone have a great day. And if you have any questions, get a hold of me and get that fat in ya.